There is a silent moment, almost invisible, when your brain starts calling for help. And the scariest part of all this? That call doesn't come as forgetfulness. It comes disguised as things you would never associate with dementia. If you are over 50 years old, or if you love someone who is in that age range, I need you to pay very close attention to what I am about to reveal right now. Because the first signs of Alzheimer's are not what you think they are. They don't start with forgetting names or losing your keys. They begin in such strange and unexpected ways that most people, and I say this with sadness, even some doctors miss them entirely. And by the time they finally notice, precious years of prevention have been lost forever. I am Dr. Olivia Thompson, and today I am going to share with you information that could literally change the destiny of your brain health or the health of someone you love. So stay with me until the very end, because every single minute of this video could make a difference in your life. Before I tell you what these strange signs are, you need to understand what really happens inside the brain before any diagnosis is ever made. You see, Alzheimer's doesn't appear overnight. Long before any visible symptom manifests itself, this disease is already working in absolute silence inside your head. Toxic proteins called beta amyloid begin to accumulate in the spaces between neurons, forming plaques that slowly suffocate the communication between cells. At the same time, another protein called tau starts to tangle inside nerve cells, interrupting the electrical signals that make your brain function properly. And here is the data that impresses me most as a physician. This process can begin 15 to 20 years before the first significant memory lapse. Did you understand that? 2 decades before you even notice that something is wrong. And that is exactly where the danger lies. The human brain is extraordinarily intelligent. It compensates. It finds alternative routes. It disguises the problem as best it can. But while it does this, it sends subtle signals throughout the body, signals that seem to have absolutely nothing to do with memory. And these are the signs I'm going to teach you to recognize today. Let me tell you the story of Mrs. Helen, because she perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. Helen was 64 years old when her daughter started noticing something different. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was her sense of smell. One day, her daughter walked into the kitchen and smelled a strong odor of gas. The stove was on, but there was no flame. She ran to her mother and asked in a panic, "Mom, didn't you smell the gas?" And Helen said no. She simply hadn't smelled anything at all. Not the gas, not the perfume she had worn her entire life, not the aroma of the morning coffee she loved so much. In the following months, Helen started tripping over rugs that had been in the same place for years. She became quieter, less interested in the soap operas she had always followed with passion. The doctor she consulted said it was just part of getting older. Only 2 years later, after a complete neurological evaluation, came the diagnosis: early-stage Alzheimer's. If the signs had been recognized earlier, treatment could have started much sooner, and that would have made all the difference. So let's talk about these strange signs that almost nobody associates with Alzheimer's. The first one, and perhaps the most ignored of all, is the loss of smell. I know it sounds bizarre, but hear me out. The olfactory bulb, which is the region of the brain responsible for processing smells, is one of the first areas to be affected by beta amyloid plaques. Scientific studies published in high-impact neurology journals show that people who lose the ability to identify common smells like cinnamon, lemon, coffee, or smoke have a significantly higher risk of developing dementia in the following years. Have you ever stopped to think about this? When was the last time you really smelled the aroma of your favorite perfume or the scent of food being prepared? If you have noticed that aromas seem weaker lately, or if they have simply disappeared, do not ignore it. This could be your brain asking for attention in a way you never imagined. The second strange sign is changes in gait and balance. Frequent stumbling, steps that have become shorter, difficulty avoiding obstacles in your path. Most people, and even many healthcare professionals, attribute this to back problems, muscle weakness, or simply aging. But it could be the brain. Motor coordination depends on brain areas that are also affected by the Alzheimer's process. Recent and very well conducted research shows that subtle changes in the way you walk can appear up to 6 years before the classic cognitive symptoms. 6 years. Can you imagine what you could do with a 6-year head start in fighting this disease? Have you noticed if your way of walking has changed? If you are stumbling more often? If climbing stairs has become more difficult for no apparent reason? Pay attention to this. The third sign I need you to know about is changes in mood and personality. The person who was always calm starts having outbursts of irritation for no reason. Or that family member who was sociable and loved being with the family suddenly isolates themselves, doesn't want to go out anymore, doesn't want to talk anymore. Deep apathy, anxiety that didn't exist before, exaggerated suspicion of close people. These emotional changes can be the first echoes of Alzheimer's reverberating in behavior. The limbic system, which is the region of the brain that regulates our emotions, is extremely vulnerable to neurodegenerative changes. Many times the family attributes these changes to age or daily stress, when in reality the brain is already changing structurally. Do you know someone who has changed their personality in recent times, who has become different without a clear explanation? Don't dismiss this as normal for their age. The fourth sign is difficulty with visual and spatial perception. And here I need to be very clear with you. I am not talking about needing new glasses or having tired eyes. I am talking about something much deeper. Difficulty judging distances correctly, parking the car in a space that used to be easy, going downstairs safely, or even recognizing your own reflection in the mirror. Alzheimer's can affect the visual cortex early on, especially in a variant called posterior cortical atrophy. The person sees perfectly fine, the eyes are working, but the brain doesn't correctly interpret what the eyes are capturing. It's as if there were a disconnection between seeing and understanding what is seen. Does this surprise you? It should, because this is a sign that goes unnoticed in most cases. And the fifth sign, which closes this set of warnings I want to engrave in your mind, is problems with sleep. And here I am not talking about an occasional bad night's sleep. I am talking about waking up several times during the night without being able to fall back asleep, having difficulty entering the deep sleep that is restorative, or sleeping too much during the day and not being able to maintain a healthy routine. Sleep is the sacred moment when the brain does its internal housekeeping, eliminating toxins that accumulated during the day, including the very beta amyloid I mentioned earlier. When sleep is chronically impaired, this cleaning simply doesn't happen properly, and the cycle of brain damage accelerates. Scientific studies indicate that sleep disorders can be both an early sign and an independent risk factor for developing Alzheimer's. Are you sleeping well? Is your sleep restorative? Do you wake up feeling rested? These questions are more important than you might think. Now, If you have identified any of these signs in yourself or in someone you love, I need to tell you something very important. Recognizing these signs is not a reason for despair. It is a reason for action. It is a reason for you to take control of the situation now, while there is still time. The first step is to see a neurologist and request a complete cognitive evaluation. There are imaging tests and neuropsychological assessments that can detect early changes in the brain. And even more importantly, there are interventions that really make a difference. Science has already proven that regular physical exercise is one of the most powerful brain protectors that exist. Walking 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week, can significantly reduce the risk of cognitive decline. Quality sleep, as I already mentioned, is absolutely fundamental for your brain health. An anti-inflammatory diet, rich in vegetables, fruits, fish, olive oil, and low in sugars and ultra-processed foods, nourishes neurons and protects against oxidative damage. Rigorous control of blood pressure and blood glucose is also essential because cardiovascular health and brain health are intimately connected. Constant cognitive stimulation, whether learning new things, reading, playing games that challenge reasoning, keeps the brain active and resilient. And we cannot forget about social connection because isolation is a proven risk factor for dementia. These combined factors can delay the progression of the disease by years, sometimes by decades. Do you understand the magnitude of this? Decades of life with quality, with lucidity, with independence. Let me tell you what happened to Mrs. Helen after her diagnosis, because this story has an ending that needs to be told. After receiving her early-stage Alzheimer's diagnosis, Helen entered a cognitive rehabilitation program. She started walking every morning in the park near her house. She completely adjusted her diet, cut out sugar, included more fish and vegetables in her meals. She went back to playing cards with her friends every week, resumed social activities she had abandoned. 3 years after the diagnosis, her condition remains stable. Her daughter says emotionally that her mother is more present and more connected than she was even before discovering the disease. This is the power of early intervention. This is what happens when you act at the right time. Alzheimer's doesn't begin with forgetfulness. It begins with whispers that the body gives, subtle signals that you can learn to hear if you know what to look for. And now you know. Now you have this information that can completely transform the trajectory of your brain health or the health of someone you deeply love. If you have recognized any of these signs in yourself or in someone close to you, I ask you, don't wait. Don't put it off until later. Don't minimize it thinking it's just part of aging. Time is the most valuable resource that exists when we talk about brain health. Every day counts. Every decision matters. Based on the most up-to-date research from neuroscience worldwide, what you choose to do today can define how your brain will be in 10, 15, 20 years. You have this power in your hands. Use it. I sincerely hope this content has been valuable to you. If it has, I ask you to please like this video because that helps the algorithm show this information to more people who need it. Share it with your parents, your grandparents, your friends, your neighbors, with anyone you love who is in this at-risk age range. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, subscribe now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any content. I post videos every week that can make a real difference in your health and quality of life. Tell me in the comments, have you recognized any of these signs in yourself or in someone close to you? What are you going to do from now on with this information? I read all the comments and make a point of responding. Stay with me for future content, because knowledge, when applied with consistency and determination, is the best protection that exists for your mind. Take care of yourself, and see you in the next video.